This video will focus on the View3d controls. You will learn how to navigate around the viewport and edit around your render layers. I got my viewport here that is at the center of my screen, and I'm going to enter the edit mode for my second render layer, as my first render layer is only for casting shadow. So I'm going to enter edit mode for my second render layer here, and will focus your attention up here. These control over here are basically the default action that will be assigned to your left mouse button, your primary touch if you are using a tablet. By default, it is set to select, which means that once you drag with the viewport selected and drop, you will create a rectangular selection. And as you might already have guessed, as you release the button, everything that is around that rectangle will be selected, allowing you to multi-select multiple objects all at once. The second one is pan. So when you are left clicking and dragging, you will actually pan the viewport. Third one is to rotate the turntable around a point of interest in space. Last one is going to be zoom, and it's going to work on our y-axis as I zoom in, pushing the camera in, pushing the camera out. And the last one is a special one. It's specifically for navigation. A whole new editor is available within this View3d editor to create navigation maps for pathfinding and AI. This will all be covered in another video. Now, since we learned how to change the left button action, now let's learn the shortcut. Most of the time you will be working with selection on, and you will simply use the shortcut to move and navigate around the viewport. So basically, to rotate the view, Alt and drag. To pan the view, Alt and Shift and drag the left mouse button. To zoom in, Alt and Control, zoom in, zoom out. Another very useful functionality that is basically embedded inside the View3d editor is the ability to enter the first-person camera that is going to allow you to fly around. To enter the mode, all you have to do is to right-click this time and then drag around to rotate the view rotation. And you might also have guessed to move forward, back, left, and right. WASD, very standard. To move the camera up, push R. To move the camera down, push F. To enter the first-person view and get locked in, you can push caps. As the caps is on, you will be locked, and then you don't have to hold the right button anymore. You can just fly around and turn your camera as if you were in first person view. Caps off will bring you back to the default mode where you have to push right click. To jump from your render camera, most of the render layers have camera, some of them don't. But if the render layer that you're editing currently have a camera, you have basically two choices. You can simply click on that little icon here with your render target to be the specific layer that have an actual camera. Instead, this will be disabled. If you click on it, you are going to move the viewport camera to be at the same location at this render layer camera, and then you can move around in first person and it will move the render layer camera as opposite to your viewport camera. To get out of that mode, simply push one of those shortcut to navigate, like an example Alt, and as you can see, I get out of the mode and I start having control back to my current viewport camera. If I want to do the opposite, I want this render layer camera to come forward where my actual viewport camera is located, I am going to push Control and 0. And this have the opposite effect. As you can see now, my camera here, my render layer camera was here, but now I don't see it because I'm currently on it. And as I release, it is now placed there. So it is also very useful to, you can just navigate around. You say, okay, I want my render camera to actually be placed at this location, and look there. Control 0, boom, you're there. Always get out, and then you can have free movements around your viewport. On a side note, before moving on with the next video tutorial that will be focusing on the manipulators, to modify the actual speed of the view rotation as well as your movement, you can hold Shift and scroll up to change the sensitivity of the view rotation. Alternatively, you can also push Control and scroll up or down to change the speed of the actual movement that you will be making while pushing WASD and RF. Based on the metric that you're using, I personally prefer to use 1 equal to 1 meter, but this might change based on your requirement. So you might want to move a lot faster than a few meters per second, maybe 100 meters per second. So it is always useful to know that you can change the speed and change the sensitivity of the first person view by holding these shortcuts.